The next morning, Starcrest Academy buzzed with whispers. Jason Hale had become the center of attention overnight, even though he had walked quietly through the halls. His calm confidence and astonishing skill during the training exercise spread quickly. Students from other classes came just to see him in action. At breakfast, the dining hall was filled with the chatter of excited students. Multicolored beings from distant worlds filled the room. Some had wings, some had tentacles, and some were covered in scales. Every species had its own way of eating. Humans were unusual here because they simply used their hands and tools without any special powers. Jason sat quietly at a corner table, opening a small container of simple earth food, bread, fruit, and some nuts. He ate calmly, observing the crowd. A purple-skinned student with long flowing hair, Mira, approached him. "Jason, can you tell us more about Earth? The stories are amazing. How do you climb mountains that high, or run in storms?" Jason smiled politely. "Sure, but it's not about being the strongest. On Earth, we learn to adapt. The mountains, the rivers, the forests, they teach us. You listen, you observe, and you train yourself. That's how we survive." Mira's eyes widened. "Even dangerous animals? How do you stay safe?" Jason chuckled softly. "We respect them. We don't fight for fun. We learn how they behave and adjust. Sometimes you run, sometimes you climb, sometimes you hide. It's about understanding, not fighting." The students around him leaned closer, eager to hear every word. Tycho, the four-armed alien from his class, could not hide his curiosity. "Humans, you are calm in danger. Even when the world attacks?" Jason nodded. "Yes, danger is part of life. The more you see, the more prepared you become. Fear doesn't go away, but you learn to act even when you are afraid." The words impressed the students, but some still doubted. Earth seemed too far, too dangerous, too unbelievable. But Jason's calm voice, his easy smile, and the way he carried himself made them wonder if the legends were true. Later that day, a group of students from another class came to the training field. They had heard Jason was fast and strong and wanted to test the rumors for themselves, Laren. The alien prince was already there, arms crossed. "I didn't think he would be that good," he admitted. "But now, I want to see more." The first challenge was a simple race across uneven terrain. Machines and tools were allowed. But many students relied on their gadgets because their species were not built for raw physical skill. Jason, on the other hand, didn't need anything but his own body. When the race started, Jason ran smoothly. His feet barely made a sound on the rocky ground. He jumped over fallen logs, dodged sharp stones, and climbed small cliffs with perfect balance. Other students stumbled, slipped, and fell, struggling to keep up even with machines. By the time Jason reached the finish line, he was calm and smiling. Liren arrived seconds later, panting, holding his gadgets. The crowd of students cheered, amazed. How did he do that?" whispered one student with wings. Vera shook her head. "I don't know. Humans are unbelievable." But it was not just his speed that impressed them. It was his mind. Jason noticed obstacles quickly, planned his moves, and stayed calm even when things got tricky. He seemed to flow with the challenge rather than fight it. After the race, a few brave students wanted to try teamwork exercises. Jason joined willingly. They had to move a heavy crate over rough terrain without dropping it. Many students tried to command machines or shout instructions, but Jason quietly organized the group. He lifted, guided, and balanced the crate with careful precision. Even Liren was surprised. "He doesn't even need tools," he muttered. Jason helped each teammate, adjusting his pace so no one was left behind. The crate reached the finish line safely. The other students were exhausted and sweating. Jason's calm demeanor made it seem effortless. That evening, the academy halls were alive with whispers. Everyone wanted to know more about the human. Stories of his speed, strength, and calm thinking had already spread beyond his own class. Students in distant wings talked about the calm storm from Earth. Vera approached Jason again, curiosity shining in her eyes. Jason, why don't you show off? You could be famous in the academy. Jason shook his head. I don't need to show off. I just do what I can. That's all. Mira leaned closer. But it's amazing. You could teach others. You could inspire them. Jason smiled softly. If my actions help someone learn, that is enough. Fame is not important. The next day, the academy held a larger exercise for all first-year students. The challenge was a simulated disaster scenario, where teams had to protect each other, rescue injured students, and solve puzzles to reach safety. Many species struggled because their abilities were limited. Outside controlled environments, humans, Jason knew, excelled at adaptation. When the simulation began, chaos erupted. Students shouted instructions, machines whirred, and obstacles moved unpredictably. Jason moved calmly. He noticed a fallen teammate, lifted them to safety, and quickly assessed the next obstacle. He guided others, giving short, clear instructions. Liren, leading his own team, watched in amazement. Jason was not just strong, he was smart, patient, and fearless under pressure. His team followed him without hesitation, trusting his calm judgment. At the end of the simulation, Jason's team finished first. Even more surprising, no one on his team was hurt. Other teams had minor setbacks. But Jason's careful planning and calm leadership had prevented accidents. The academy judges, a group of senior teachers, were astonished. This human. He is not only strong, but he thinks faster and guides his team better than most species here. One of them said quietly. Word spread quickly. By lunch, students from multiple classes crowded around Jason, asking questions about Earth, about his training, about how humans survive such harsh conditions. Jason laughed softly. It's not magic. Earth is tough, yes, but humans grow up learning how to deal with it. The mountains, the forests, the oceans, they teach you to think, to adapt, and to keep going. One student with 3 eyes and silver fur asked, So you are saying humans can face any danger? Jason paused and looked at them. We can try. But it's not about facing danger alone. It's about learning to stay calm, to think clearly, and to work with others. That is how humans survive the toughest challenges. By the end of the week, Jason had become a quiet legend in the academy. Students no longer doubted the stories of Earth. They had seen the human's strength, skill, and calm thinking with their own eyes. Even Liren, the prince, approached Jason one afternoon. You have changed my opinion, he said. I thought humans were weak and soft. But you are something else. I don't understand how you do it. Jason smiled politely. It's not special. Earth just teaches you to never give up. You learn to keep moving no matter what comes at you. Liren nodded slowly, thinking. I want to see more. Tomorrow, we will have a different challenge, one that tests strategy, endurance, and teamwork. If you can succeed, I will admit humans are remarkable. Jason simply nodded. He did not need recognition, but inside he felt a quiet excitement. The academy had much to learn, and he was ready to help as the sun set over Starcrest Academy. The students left the training grounds, still talking about Jason Hale. Some were in awe, some were curious, and some were starting to feel a little inspired. A human from a so-called Deathworld had quietly entered their lives, and his actions had begun to change the way they saw the universe. Jason walked back to his dorm room, thinking about Earth's forests, oceans, and mountains. He remembered the storms he had run through, the rivers he had crossed, and the cliffs he had climbed. On Earth, he had learned to adapt, survive, and stay calm in any situation. Now, when his school far from home, he realized the same lessons applied. He did not need to fight or show off. By being himself, by staying calm and helping others, he could teach more than words ever could, and the students of Starcrest Academy were only beginning to understand that humans were not just survivors. They were a reminder of courage, endurance, and quiet strength. The day of the Interworld competition arrived at Starcrest Academy. Students from every planet in the galaxy gathered for the grand event. Many had heard whispers about the human, Jason Hale, and the stories about Earth's dangerous Deathworld. Some were curious, some doubtful, and some even nervous. After all, humans were rare. Their reputation for endurance and courage was known throughout the academy. Jason walked calmly into the competition arena, carrying only a small satchel of basic supplies. His classmates, who had grown to respect him over the past weeks, followed. Laren, the silver-haired prince, gave Jason a respectful nod. "I want to see what you can really do today," he said. Jason nodded. "I'll do my best." The arena was enormous, filled with simulated hazards, uneven terrain, and complex challenges. The first event was a test of endurance and adaptability. Teams had to navigate through a storm simulation filled with strong winds, shifting rocks, and sudden floods. Most species relied on gadgets, shields, or magic to cope with the conditions. Humans, however, were trained by nature itself to adapt without special tools. When the horn sounded, chaos erupted. Machines whirred, magical shields flared, and students shouted instructions to their teammates. Jason moved calmly. He dodged debris, leaped over rising water, and guided his teammates safely through the first obstacles. His steady movements contrasted sharply with the panic around him. A large, multi-armed alien struggled to carry a fallen teammate. Jason rushed forward without hesitation, lifting the alien carefully and guiding them to safety. By the time they reached the checkpoint, Jason's team was ahead, but more importantly, no one had been hurt. Other teams were astonished. They had assumed humans would struggle without gadgets or magic, but Jason had made it look effortless. Whispered words spread quickly across the arena. "The human. He is incredible." The second event was a teamwork and strategy challenge. Students were divided into mixed species teams and tasked with moving large energy cores from one side of the arena to the other. The cores were unstable and could overload if mishandled. Many students panicked at the thought of controlling the heavy devices. Jason assessed the situation quickly. He assigned positions, suggested safe paths, and encouraged the team. "Lift together, don't rush. Watch each other," he said calmly. The team followed his instructions carefully. Even when a core started to wobble dangerously, Jason adjusted its weight, guiding the others and keeping it stable. Slowly but steadily, they moved the core to the finish line. Other teams relied on complicated machines that sometimes malfunctioned, causing delays. Jason's team finished with precision, impressing both the judges and the audience. During the lunch break, whispers of Jason's abilities spread throughout the academy. Students from other classes crowded around him, asking questions about Earth. "Tell us about the storms on Earth," said a tall alien with tentacles. Jason smiled. "Storms are part of life there. They can be strong with wind, rain, and even lightning. But if you watch and prepare, you can move safely. You learn to act calmly, not panic. That's how humans survive harsh conditions," small-winged girl asked. "And the animals? Are they dangerous?" Jason nodded. "Some are. But danger teaches you how to think. You can't always fight. Sometimes you hide. Sometimes you run. Sometimes you climb. It's about understanding, not fighting. Humans learn to respect nature." By the time the final event arrived, excitement filled the arena. The last challenge was a simulated disaster where teams had to protect each other while navigating dangerous terrain and solving complex puzzles. It tested every skill: strength, speed, intelligence, and teamwork. The horn sounded, and chaos began. Students shouted instructions, gadgets flared, and obstacles shifted unpredictably. Jason moved calmly. He noticed a student struggling with a puzzle, knelt beside them, and offered simple guidance. Another teammate slipped on a wet surface. Jason caught them easily, steadying them without slowing the group. Laren, observing from the sidelines, could not hide his astonishment. "How does he do it?" he muttered. "Calm/steady. Everything he does is perfect." The final section of the challenge involved crossing a bridge that could collapse under too much weight. Many teams hesitated, afraid to risk it. Jason analyzed the bridge, noticed weak spots, and suggested precise steps to distribute weight evenly. With his guidance, his team crossed safely. While several other teams struggled and nearly fell, when the horn signaled the end of the challenge, Jason's team was first. More importantly, every member had finished safely. The judges, a council of senior teachers, were impressed beyond words. One judge said quietly, "The human. He is not just strong, he is wise, patient, and brave." This is rare in any species. The crowd of students erupted in cheers. Humans had often been underestimated, but today Jason had proven that courage, intelligence, and calm thinking could surpass even the most advanced technology or magic. After the competition, the Academy held a small ceremony. Jason's team received medals for first place. Even Laren, the prince, approached him and extended a hand. "I admit it," Laren said. "Humans are extraordinary. Your calm, courage, and leadership. It is something we have not seen before." Jason shook his hand, smiling politely. "Thank you. But anyone can learn if they try. Earth just taught me to never give up and to help others whenever I can." The ceremony ended with cheers, claps, and applause from students of all species. Jason had not only won the competition, but had also changed the way everyone thought about humans. They were no longer a mysterious, dangerous species, they were inspiring. Back in his dorm room, Jason reflected on the day. He remembered the mountains he had climbed on Earth, the rivers he had swum across, and the storms he had faced. Life had taught him resilience, calmness, and strength. Now he had shared those lessons with the galaxy, not through fighting or boasting, but by simply being himself. The next morning, the Academy was buzzing again. Students whispered excitedly about the human who had quietly entered their lives and shown them that courage and intelligence mattered, more than flashy power or advanced technology, even in classrooms far from his own. Students asked about him. "Did you see what the human did in the final challenge?" one student asked. "He guided his team perfectly." Vera, sitting beside Tycho in the library, smiled. "He doesn't just survive, he teaches others to be better. I never thought a human could be like this." Tycho nodded. "He is amazing. Calm, strong, and clever. I want to learn from him." Jason's presence had begun to shift the Academy's culture. Students from all planets began to train more diligently, not to outdo each other, but to match the calm focus and courage that humans naturally exhibited. Earth, once a mysterious death world, had become a symbol of endurance, intelligence, and heart. Weeks passed, and Jason continued his daily life at Starcrest. He trained, studied, and helped others quietly, never seeking attention. Yet his influence grew with every challenge, every word of advice, and every calm action. Students began to see humans not just as survivors, but as examples of what determination, observation, teamwork could achieve. One day, Professor Laron called the class together. "Jason," he said, "you have shown us all that courage and strength come in many forms. You have reminded us that even the smallest, calmest action can inspire a galaxy. Your stories from Earth are not just tales, they are lessons in living." Jason smiled. "I only do what I know. Earth taught me that. Anyone can do it if they try. You just have to be patient, observant, and ready to help others." Loren, standing nearby, nodded silently. "I have learned more from you than I ever imagined," he said. "Humans, you are remarkable." Jason simply smiled. He didn't need praise. He had already achieved what mattered most. He had shown the galaxy that courage, endurance, and calm determination were true power. By the time the sun set over Starcrest Academy, students of every species were talking about the human from Earth who had quietly entered their lives and shown them a new way to face challenges. Jason Hale was no longer just a student. He was a symbol of courage, intelligence, and calm strength. And though he had returned to his dorm room, quietly packing his bag for the next day of classes, the Academy knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had never seen anything like a human from Earth before. From that day on, students no longer feared humans or whispered rumors of dangerous death worlds. Instead, They remembered Jason's quiet courage and calm determination. They remembered a human who could climb mountains, cross storms, and guide others without boast or display. Jason Hale had not just shocked the class, he had inspired a galaxy. Captain Lyra Cade stepped off the transport pod and onto the vast command platform of the alien station. The floor beneath her boots hummed faintly, a strange energy flowing through translucent panels. Towering figures of various shapes and colors turned their heads toward her. Some were thin and angular, with luminous eyes, while others were broad and muscular, their skin patterned like shifting stone. All of them had gathered to see the human whose reputation had spread across star systems like wildfire. Lyra was tall, but not intimidating in a traditional sense. She wore the standard human officer uniform, light gray, practical. Fitted, but it was her posture and calm confidence that drew attention. Her dark eyes scanned the room, noting every detail with precision. She could feel the weight of alien stares, the curiosity, the tension. They expected fear. They expected hesitation. Instead, she walked forward with measured steps, her head held high. The room fell silent as she approached the central viewing platform. Several alien commanders were already seated behind sleek, transparent consoles. They gestured toward a massive holographic screen. The screen flickered, and combat footage began to play. Lyra barely blinked. The footage was impressive. Massive fleets of human warships cut through asteroid fields with surgical precision. Soldiers in powered exosuits moved across battlefields with coordination that seemed almost choreographed. Explosions painted the sky, and yet every move was deliberate, controlled. Perfect. The aliens exchanged excited glances. They had prepared this display to intimidate her. They expected her to gasp, to flinch, perhaps to feel the weight of human reputation for the first time. This was the moment they would see fear in her eyes. Lyra yawned. It was a slow, deliberate yawn. She stretched slightly, resting one hand on her hip, and said, in a voice calm and clear, "Oh, that's from my first deployment." The room froze. Several aliens blinked in shock. A tall, blue-skinned officer with elongated fingers whispered something to his companion. A small, spiny alien let out a low hiss of disbelief. The footage continued to play, but its power to intimidate had vanished. One of the alien commanders, a being with shimmering golden skin and 4 eyes stacked vertically on its head, cleared its throat. You were present in this battle?" it asked. Its voice was cautious, even wary. "Yes," Lyra replied simply. Her tone carried no arrogance, no need to brag. She sounded as if she were speaking about any ordinary day on the station. "My unit was responsible for the northern flank. Minimal losses. Mission success." There was a moment of silence broken only by the low hum of the command station. The aliens could not hide their astonishment. They had prepared this display to scare her, yet here she was, yawning and commenting casually, as if they had shown her a simple training exercise. A younger alien officer, eager to assert authority, tried to regain control of the situation. "Human, do you understand the purpose of this footage? It is meant to demonstrate the limits of your species, to intimidate, to ensure you know your place." Lyra tilted her head slightly, considering the alien. She smiled faintly, polite but unreadable. "I understand, but I have seen worse. And I have been there." The alien's multiple eyes narrowed. It was not used to being met with calm like this. Usually, the sight of combat footage alone was enough to make other species hesitate. Lyra's reaction, however, unsettled them. It was the kind of quiet confidence that demanded attention without shouting, without gestures of dominance. One of the larger aliens, whose arms were thick and plated with metallic scales, leaned forward. "Then perhaps you can explain your tactics, your maneuvers, how you achieved victory with such apparent ease." Lyra nodded, stepping closer to the holographic console. She moved her hands in smooth motions, pointing out strategic formations and decisions displayed on the screen. "Here," she said, "you'll notice that the enemy underestimated our mobility. They thought their numbers would overwhelm us, but we adapted. Instead of holding a static line, we use dynamic flanking. Minimal exposure, maximum efficiency. In here, we coordinated with orbital assets to cover retreat paths, ensuring no unit was left behind. As she spoke, the aliens listened intently. Her words were precise, her reasoning logical. Yet it was not the words themselves that impressed them, it was the ease with which she explained complex maneuvers, as if they were everyday decisions. There was no exaggeration, no boasting, just facts and confidence rooted in experience. Another alien, a slender being with translucent wings, finally spoke. Its voice was careful, and, "You did this as a human? Alone, without guidance from your species' advanced AI systems?" Lyra shook her head. "We have AI support, yes, but intelligence is not everything. Humans adapt. We think, we feel, and we act. AI can advise, but it cannot replace judgment. That judgment comes from experience, and I have had mine." A murmur passed through the room. The aliens glanced at one another. The impression they had of humans as reckless or primitive in combat was crumbling before their eyes. Here was a human who did not need to intimidate or threaten. Her presence alone carried weight. The golden-skinned commander leaned forward again, its tone less confrontational. "If this is true, then your species may be far more formidable than previously believed." Lyra allowed herself a small, polite nod. She did not need to argue. Her calmness, her clarity, and her command of the situation spoke for itself. The aliens decided to press further. They activated another set of footage. This one showing humans engaged in a joint operation with allied species against a larger threat. The scale was enormous. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers. Explosions lit up the void of space as Lyra's voice came in, calmly describing each maneuver, each decision made under pressure. A few minutes in, one of the aliens could not contain its frustration. How can a single species, one so small, possess such capability? How do you achieve so much with so little apparent effort? Lyra paused and smiled faintly. It isn't about size or effort. It's about coordination, adaptability, and courage. Every human unit knows its role, but they also know how to think for themselves. That combination is what allows success in almost any scenario. The aliens fell silent again, each processing this revelation. Their plan to intimidate had failed spectacularly. Instead of fear, Lyra had inspired a new kind of respect, one that was wary. Careful, but undeniable. Finally, Lyra stepped back from the console. She crossed her arms and looked around the room, her posture relaxed, yet authoritative. "If your goal was to show me the strength of humans, well, you have. I understand what humans are capable of. Now, it is your turn to show me what you are capable of." A ripple of surprise passed through the room. Few had expected her to challenge them so directly. It was bold, yet there was no aggression in her words, only confidence. She had turned their intimidation attempt into a test, and she had taken control of the encounter without raising her voice or drawing a weapon. The golden-skinned commander finally spoke, its tone measured. "Very well, human. We will see if your reputation is deserved. You will undergo trials, simulations, strategy exercises, and evaluations. Only then will we understand the true extent of your abilities." Lyra nodded. "I welcome that." The session ended, and the aliens began to disperse. Some whispered among themselves, clearly unsettled. Others observed Lyra in silence, still trying to reconcile the human in front of them with the legendary figure in the footage. As Lyra returned to her quarters, she allowed herself a small smile. She knew the aliens would try to test her further, but she was ready. She had faced worse than simulations, and she had survived. The galaxy had underestimated humans before. She intended to continue proving them wrong. Her thoughts drifted to her first deployment, the one the aliens had just seen on the screen. She remembered the chaos, the noise, the fear in the eyes of new recruits. Yet she also remembered the pride, the unity, and the small victories that had added up to an overwhelming triumph. That experience had shaped her, taught her calmness, and forged her confidence. It had made her the human the galaxy had heard about. And now, as she prepared for the trials ahead, she knew one thing clearly: humans were underestimated everywhere they went, and that underestimation was their advantage. With a deep breath, she stepped into her quarters, ready to rest before the challenges ahead. Tomorrow would be another day of proving what humans were truly capable of, and Lyricade would make sure every alien in that station remembered her name.